All right.
So in 5 days, how do you feel emotionally and physically?
I feel great. My dream come true, and I have no word. You know, like I've been waiting for this for 4 years, and I did it, man. I'm very happy.
Physically, how are you feeling?
I feel good. I'm still sore. In a fight, I got the reason why I went to hospital is I got an elbow behind the head, and they had to take some scan. It was bad. I was sweating so much I couldn't even tie up my shoes. My neck was kind of paralyzed, you know. Like even now, I still have a lot of restriction, but the swelling have gone down, and I feel much better.
And when you were on top of him, he cut you up a lot with elbows.
Yes.
Is that something you were expecting? Because he seemed to be.
Yeah, I was a little bit rusty. You talk about the rust. I've been 4 years. I've been out, and ground and pound is something from the bottom is something that you cannot really practice in training because obviously you can get cut and lost the opportunity to fight. So that was one thing that I was a little bit rusty. I should have controlled more the inside and the wrist, and I'll pay attention to it better next time. It's a mistake that I made in the fight.
Were you a little tired, and maybe that's the reason why he was able to hit you from the bottom?
No, not really. It's not that I was tired. To give him his credit, is the first one I did very well, but I was very accurate. And in the second round, he made very good adjustment. He started moving more, and I was not prepared for that. I was prepared the way all my sparring partners were. They were big guys who were very aggressive, coming straight at me, trying to knock me out with sprawl and brawl, sort of speak tactic. And Michael took me off guard a little bit, especially in the second round. First round I did very well. He stood his ground, and so I did very well with it. But in the second round he started moving more, and he made me miss. He made me, because he was moving, I was loading a lot with my overhand right, tried to counter his jab, and he used a beautiful right hand to counter my overhand right. So I had to go back and readjust myself in the third round. That's what I did. It's not that I was tired. He made me look tired in a way because he was making me miss, and he did a very beautiful job in the second round. He won the second round clearly. But in the third round I came back, and Freddie Roach told me what was going on from an outside perspective point of view. And I knew that he was trying to counter with his right hand, so he said to me, when he throw his right hand, throw the left hook over the top, and that's what I did, and that's how I dropped him. Once I got him on the floor, I knew by studying video that Michael liked to stand up from the floor using a 4-point stand-up technique, belly down. So I was trying to finish him with strike, but he was covering well, and I didn't want to empty my gas tank, so I let him trying to stand up, so he had to go belly down like he always does, and he exposed his back, which is the mistake that cost him the fight. And I got the what we call rear naked choke, or mata-leão, killing the lions in Brazilian Portuguese, and that's how I finished him. And he went out on his shield. He refused to tap, and he passed out.
Did you expect it to end the way that it did, by the left hook and then the submission?
You never expect a fight to go the way that it go. But I was very well prepared, and I was ready to every eventuality. But one thing that caught me off guard, caught me and my trainer off guard, is how he was moving. We were expecting someone that was trying to bully me because he was a bigger man, and he was moving a lot, and that I was not prepared. I had to readjust myself after the second round, because he took me a lot by surprise. He's got an incredible team, great coaches, Jason Perillo, and he was very well prepared, and I have to give him credit for that. You know, he did a great job in the second round.
George, glad that you mentioned Brazil. So, are you gonna face Robert Whittaker to unify your title?
Yeah, in my contract, it's written that my next fight has to be against Robert Whittaker.
So when is gonna be?
I have no idea. I have no idea. You know, in mixed martial art, things can change in a blink of an eye. So you know, you never know. Sometimes you expect something and another thing happens. So now, one thing that I know for certain is I'm taking a few days to do some PR stuff to help for the UFC, because I need to do it. And I'm going to vacation in a very exotic place with sand and beaches where nobody knows about that I'm going there, going away from that crazy circus of mixed martial art world that surround me, and then after I'll come back and we'll see what's gonna happen.
A fight against McGregor is possible, maybe Anderson Silva?
everything is possible, you know. It's just a question of, is it beneficial for the organization? Is it beneficial for me? That fight for me was great because it was a win-win situation. They made a lot of money, they sold a lot of pay-per-view, and also for me it was good for my legacy, you know. The reason why I came back is not because I needed the money. I wanted to come back because I knew I was in my prime and I knew I wanted to make history. I did it not necessarily because of the belt, I did it for my legacy. I did it to be able to cherish a memory that will stay with me for the rest of my life. You know, the belt, it's a symbol, it's nice, it represents hard work and dedication, but it could be stolen, it could be destroyed. The memory that I keep of that, what I've done Saturday, it's never gonna be taken away from me. It's something that I will keep for the rest of my life. And times that maybe one day my life will be, I will go through some negative thing in my life. I will be able to sit back and think back about that moment. It will make me smile. That's what it is, and that people don't understand. I do this to live a moment, and Saturday I live a moment, and I felt very privileged to be able to live that moment. It was a big risk, but bigger the risk, bigger the reward, and I even though a lot of people in my entourage told me it was a bad idea, I always trust myself, and I always believed that I was able to do it, and I did it, and I'm very proud.
How many fights have you got in you think?
I don't know how many fights I have in me. The goal in this game is to retire on top, to not leave too late, like a lot of guys have done, like Muhammad Ali, and they made a mistake. I believe they were on top, but when you start to be a little bit greedy, thinking that you special, we're all human beings, nobody is invincible, and there's no such thing as being the strongest man. When I was young, I wanted to do mixed martial arts because I wanted to be the strongest man. There is no such thing. I realize now that there is no such thing. Everybody can beat everybody at any given day. You know, like I fought Michael Bisping Saturday night. I beat him because I was at that particular time, at particular moment, I was the better man. It doesn't mean that if I fight him tomorrow, I will still beat him. You know, it's not always the best team that win the game in football or hockey or soccer. It's the team that play the best the night of the game. It's the same thing in fighting. Fighting, it ain't different. People think fighting is different. There's nobody who's invincible, and it's the fighter that wins. It's not necessarily the best fighter. It's the fighter that will fight the best the night of the fight, and that's what I did Saturday.
Do you consider yourself the greatest fighter of all time? That seems to be
there's no such thing as the greatest. You know, there's no such thing. It's very hard to say. What I can say is one of the very good qualities that I have as an athlete, I'm very good. I think one of my best qualities as an athlete is I'm very good to perform when it counts. I'm very good to pull the trigger when it counts, under pressure. A lot of guys sometimes are very good, but when it's time to pull the trigger, they freeze or something. Me, one of my qualities, mentally, I'm very strong, and I'm very good to be good when it counts. And that's why it sometimes makes a champion, difference between a champion and a guy who's a contender.
What do you do if UFC takes away?
You know, you were slowing down. You seemed a little tired, but when you saw the opportunity, you took it. You hit him with that left hook, and you was able to finish.
I don't think I was more tired than I am usually. I was just missing. It was making me miss, and I knew I was losing the second round. I knew if I would try to overcommit myself, it would be dangerous to lose because he's a bigger man. So I knew it was like 3 rounds left to go. So I decided, you know, sometimes you have to give it a round. And I decided to come back and make some adjustment, and I came back stronger in the 3rd round.
So what will you do if UFC takes away your sponsorship? I'm saying in the sense of like you have Under Armour, you have all these.
It won't take away my sponsorship. I'm an Under Armour guy. You know, this is clear for me. I'm with Under Armour. Under Armour been there with me since the beginning, a very long time, and I'm a very faithful person. It's not a question of money. I'm with Under Armour 100%. However, when I fight, because of the laws, I have to wear the Reebok because Reebok sponsor the UFC. And it's a little bit like the same thing in American football. For example, Tom Brady is sponsored. He's an Under Armour guy, but when he play in the NFL is sponsored by Nike. So it's the same thing. I'm an Under Armour guy, and I'm always going to be an Under Armour guy for now.
What will happen if they take away that sponsorship and your belt?
They can't take away my sponsorship. My sponsorship has nothing to do with fighting. My sponsorship is outside of fighting. This is the MMA circle. This is the MMA circle, but I'm out. My brand goes beyond the MMA circle, goes outside of the MMA circle, goes into the entertainment circle. And Under Armour follow me everywhere except when I'm competing inside the UFC. And not only Under Armour, I have a lot of other brands that follow me outside of the UFC brand.
Are you trying to change that with UFC?
It's gonna be hard to change because they have a deal in place with Reebok, and it's fine for them, but it might not be as beneficial for other fighters. You know, I'm very lucky, privileged, because I'm in a position that I'm very healthy and very wealthy, but for some other guy, it's harder for them to be able to survive with no sponsorship that they cannot wear and give them exposure during their fight, because that's what normally the sponsors want. They want to be able to be seen during your fight. But with Under Armour, for example, I have other chance to expose them, and when I work with them for advertising and publicity, stuff like that, they use me for different purposes.
George, you put on social media yesterday that you gave your belt to one of your coaches. How does that make you feel, seeing you give your belt to a coach, continue that tradition?
Every belt that I've won since the beginning, I always gave it to someone that was there to help me through my career. My first belt, I gave it to my mother, because my mother is the one that was the most important for me. Then I gave it to Ferraz, then I gave it to John, I gave it to different people who were with me since the beginning. Then after a while at welterweight, they stopped giving the belt, so I couldn't give it away because they stopped giving it away. But now I want a new belt, and they gave me the middleweight title, so I gave it to Victor Zimmerman, who's my wrestling coach for almost more than 15 years. So he's been screaming and shouting at me, and when I gave him the belt, he's a former USSR wrestler, and it's one of the, I think it's the first time I saw him smile ever, so it made me feel very happy.
George, you got 45 days of suspension for medical matters, so did you think it's too much?
No, it's not too much. I'm going to explain to you. The suspension, they don't come from the cut and the bruises. During the fight, I got something that really hurt me. It was I got hit by an elbow behind the head. And if you look at the fight, it looked pretty insignificant, but it was, I think it was the precision and not necessarily the strike of the blow, but it was when the precision and the timing of the blow. When I received it, I received an elbow behind the head, and behind the head you have a place called the basal bone is attached to the spinal cord. And what happened to me is when I got hit, I saw like a bruise. I see my vision got changed a little bit. Then it came back to normal, but my neck, the muscle in my neck, in the back of my neck, close to my skull, start to inflame. So I couldn't even, when I was on the ground, I couldn't even posture up to try to strike my opponent because my neck was jammed. I couldn't even move my neck, you know, and try to punch and grapple without moving your neck. It's very hard when the guy is pushing your head away. You have no power. So even now, you see, my neck is very, my rotation is very restricted. It's much better than it was, but it's still inflamed. And after the fight, I had to go to the hospital to get a CAT scan because I was they saw something in the back of my head, so they had to keep me an extra 6 hours to make sure everything was all right. Because New York are more conservative than other places, and they want to make sure everything was cool. It was good, and I'm fine with it. When it's health reason, it's always important for me to prioritize my health. Good news is that nothing serious, everything is fine, but it could have been very dangerous. Sometimes you think it's nothing, it's a little thing like this that can hurt you the most instead of a big, very big flamboyant stuff, you know? It's kind of weird.
How many stitches?
Oh, I don't know. I have a few on my nose, on my forehead, unfortunately.
You look good. You look good.
No, thank you. I don't know about that, but I'm trying to.
Attractive woman just told you.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying that you look good.
Oh, but thank you. Muito obrigado.
Yes, thank you.
George, could you go back down to welterweight?
I could easily, because what happened is during the last 6 months, I was following a very severe diet. Try to put on muscle mass, and I did. I was weighing about 198 pounds, and when I woke up in the morning, and I was weighing 198 pounds until I lose my weight to make the 185 mark, And it was very hard, you know. I was trying to force myself to eat all the time, and even what happened is it's not an healthy way of living, because you try to force yourself to eat even when you're not hungry, and try to shovel food down your throat. Even at breakfast, I was eating, and somehow I was having a reflux, you know. I was throwing up my breakfast. So I made the weigh-in at 185, but when I tried to go back up, it's like my body didn't want to go back up that much. The night of the fight, I was 191 pounds, and I remember when I woke up, I was 191 pounds, and I was shocked. I thought I would have been heavier, and I was worried. So I went to have a breakfast, and I tried to eat as much as I can for the breakfast to get big, and I went back in my room and I threw up again. I threw up my breakfast. So I told my nutrition coach, I said, hey, is it normal? He said, George, it's okay. He said, just don't force yourself to eat too much, because that's the day of the fight. Just make sure you're well hydrated, and it's gonna go well. And that's what I did, and it feels good. But I couldn't go back up as much as I was. It's like my body shut down. My body remember that my natural weight is not 198 pounds. Before I was like 185, but I was like in the middle a little bit.
Is it true that Freddie Roach prefers you to go back down to welterweight?
I think Freddie does, but we'll see what's gonna happen. You know, I felt good, and I felt very fast and athletic at that weight, and I mean, we'll see what's gonna happen. I can't say what's gonna happen next.
How did you feel at the end of the fight, though?
I got hit and my neck was bothering me, and I think I don't know if I had a concussion or something, but like something was bothering me, like in the back of my head. I knew something was wrong. I went to see the doctor. I was like, I don't know what it is, and they touched. It was a big bump in the back, and I had to go to the hospital to check it out.
Dana White sort of, after the fight, sort of brushed off the idea of you're going back to welterweight.
Because in my contract is written that if I win, I have to defend against Robert Whittaker, because it's normal in the UFC standpoint of view. They don't want the title to go up and down. They don't want to diminish the value of a title, and I understand that. It's business-wise, I understand that.
BJ Penn said when he came back last year, he didn't realize how much he missed interacting with the fans. During the fight week, did you get because you've been away for longer than him pretty much?
Yeah, the sport has changed now. It's more WWF. It's crazy. It wasn't like that when I left off 4 years ago. Now it was crazy. Also I was fighting a guy that likes to trash talk, right. Which is different. But it was just a different environment. The fans are crazy. Everybody is more into it. It was fun though. I was enjoying the process.
This was also your first fight with the USADA testing. What did you think about that process?
It was great. They came. They came so often to see me, guys. I think there is a website that you can check. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the most tested athlete, but I should probably be one of the most tested guys. It's crazy. They come all the time, and they even come after the weigh-in. They come to wake me up during my nap, and then I'm like, oh God, I'd rather you come now than you come at 6 a.m. the day of the fight. You know what I mean? Right. So they're really there to make sure that you're on point, and that's good. You know, like you cannot be against the Virtu, and that's what I wanted, and we get it, and I'm very happy. You know,
would you like
George, what's your reaction to Dana saying that you broke the Canadian pay-per-view record?
Already, I mean,
yeah, he said that you guys beat Floyd and Connor's fight.
Wow, it's great. I'm very happy. You know, I had the support from my fan for a long time, and a lot of people did not believe that I was going to come back, but I always wanted to, and it's always very motivating for me to when people say that you cannot do something and I do it. That's what drives me to success.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.